Welcome along then to the final match build-up show of the season. And once again, this episode is sponsored by OneFootball. Do make sure you check out the excellent free OneFootball app to be first to know and kept up to date with all of the latest transfer news. Find all the match facts and stats and all the live scores all in one place. Check out the OneFootball app. The link is in the description below. So we've made it to the end of the season then, and thankfully we were safe a few weeks ago. I'm not sure I could have endured a final day escape that we saw so many times in the 1990s, but I think it's fair to say this season it's been long, it's been exhausting, but I suppose only half as exhausting as it were than last season. But I'm sure you'd agree with me, I think we're certainly feeling a lot more confident this time round with Ralph captaining this ship. So then here it is, the curtain call of this season, the final home game against Huddersfield Town. So coming up then on this week's show, we return to the Five Rivers for our first half of the show and discuss the importance of finishing strongly and a chance to finish with a flourish. And as for the opposition, I chat to Huddersfield Town reporter and ask what it's really been like to watch the Terriers this season, and we think our season's been relatively bad. Let's just find out how Huddersfield fans feel.
It's important to finish positively. Give the fans have been fantastic in this second half of the season. They've really latched onto the enthusiasm that Ralph's generated. They've seen players that they thought were rubbish suddenly performing like internationals. You know, and all of a sudden you want to go to the games. You're looking forward to the weekend. And I've got to be honest, there was a time this season when the only reason I was going down there was to go and have a drink with my mates.
Yeah.
I think in many ways people felt as if the season ended on Sunday. You know, it was the send-off for the chairman, it was all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I think still be a decent number of people going down there. But yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's I think it's been a very, very difficult season.
As usual now then, the episode is available to download if you click on the card above my head if you're watching on YouTube, or it's available to download it on more audio platforms below the show so you can listen to it on the go. Lots to tell you about elsewhere though, a few charitable causes to mention, including Franny Benali's Iron Fran and also the Saints Foundation Big Bike Challenge. And to send off the season in style, there will be a live band down at the Five Rivers this Sunday. But before we even get to any of that, let's kick off our final match build-up show of the season, Southampton versus Huddersfield Town. Back where it all started then, here at the Five Rivers. We were here at the start of the season, here at the end of the season. Clive's with me to, I suppose, look forward after an exhausting season for the final game of the season, Huddersfield at home. But I suppose before we get there, mate, a case of deja vu really at London Stadium. The ground is really starting to become a bit of a horror show for us.
Yeah, it's not too good for the supporters either. It's not a good day out. Well, the day out in London's all right, but the actual stadium experience is rubbish. So yeah, it was disappointing. Given the side that Ralph had picked, he obviously wanted to look at people. I was expecting us to put up maybe a bit more of a fight. And I think we did second half. We did, but obviously conceding that first goal, you're up against it then. And West Ham could, when we did push, could play on the break when they were really dangerous. So.
And I suppose if we look at the starting lineup as well, you know, a couple of players, I suppose by surprise for the fans, but it wasn't too much of a surprise for Ralph. He teased it in midweek that he was going to give some of the players a chance. And we saw Fraser Forster and Elyounoussi from the start of the weekend. Yeah,
we did. Some supporters were a bit critical, but I think it's a fair shout from Ralph that you can never replace training, you know, with a full match situation against Premiership opponents. And Elyounoussi, he had some nice touches. He worked very hard, but I just think his physical stature is that he's struggling in the Premier League, and he probably would be better off playing in a foreign league where it's slightly less physically demanding. What sort of money we would get for him, I really don't know. But as far as Forster goes, I'm glad to see him back because apparently he's had problems off the pitch, and who knows what they are. That's something personal. But I was glad to see him back. Okay, you say he's at fault for the second goal, but he also made a string of fine saves, and he looks solid enough to me, other than that one blemish for the second goal.
Yeah, and I suppose if you look at it, the selection at the back too, that we went for a four at the back with Stevens and Bednarak. Vestergaard and Yoshida remain injured. Vestergaard, we know now, is out to the end of the season. He used to have an operation on his groin, but I think we lack that leadership on the pitch from Yoshida. And I suppose if we highlight Fraser Forster's efforts, to me, you can't fault too much his performance. He made some decent saves, some comfortable saves, but
he did. And when he parried the ball away, it went distance, so he got it away from trouble. And maybe that's something that Angus isn't quite so strong on. So for all the criticism that Fraser took, and I think some of the crowd that sarcastically cheered him when he used to catch the ball, they want their heads seen to be honest, because as a goalkeeper, it's horrendous. When you go for a bad run, look at supposedly the best keeper in the world, De Gea, is having a nightmare time right now. So it does happen, and the last thing you need is your own fans taking the piss. And I think Bournemouth had it a few weeks ago with
Boric or Begovic.
They were both getting stick. You're supposed to be supporting your football team. It doesn't do any good at all. I understand criticism. That's fair enough after the game, but during a game, it's just rubbish.
And I suppose that's the problem that Forster has had over the last sort of 18 months.
His confidence,
or so.
Freddie.
Absolutely, his confidence has been shot. It could be said that he's been down a dark, deep hole in sort of depression, all of the criticism that he's been seen on social media.
And from our point of view, he was on a long contract, so other clubs are looking in, thinking, well, don't really want to buy him. His head's gone, his confidence is gone. Yes, he was a very, very good Premiership keeper, but his market value must be negligible right now. So we need him back in the fold, and hopefully he can do that. And some of those saves on Saturday were pretty damn decent. His communication was good, kicking was fine. It's one thing that's been criticised in the past, So all round, it was just that second goal really, and we did. If you look at it from a defensive point of view, we did let that guy get pretty damn close on goal before he put that cross in. Some of the approach play for the defence wasn't very good on Saturday.
But I suppose if we look at the three goals in detail, I mean, if we start with the first goal, another sort of catastrophic error which led to the goal. Valerie, this time reading Jack Stevens' textbook, the mistake that he made against Bournemouth, it wasn't fatal that day.
It was just short, wasn't it? It was probably the right, maybe he thought in his head he'd had made the right choice, but noticed not just those last two chances, but quite a few times where Saints have lost the ball in possession, going across in midfield, and teams have picked up. In the Premiership, you will get punished. Not so much in the Championship. That's something that we're going to have to. Ralph, again, it's a learning process for him as much as it is for the players. We want to play football in midfield. We want to be progressive going forward, but we have been caught out a few times. And it's either led to goals or very near misses from the opposition, and we need to. That is something that he needs to improve on with as a defending as a team. I think is the maybe there's the recovery. The minute that ball breaks down, getting guys behind the ball quicker, but it's difficult. Premier League, these guys are sharp.
Yeah, and it's Arnautovic once again causing us all sorts of nightmares. We said it was a horror ground. It's starting to become a bit like a Nightmare on Elm Street down at or to stick with the horror of thriller
films.
The
locals? I mean,
Arnautovic, they call him Arnie. He was a bit like the Terminator again, scoring 2 goals.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's really annoying because he should be off in Japan where he was going really for his payday, But he didn't, did he? And that fell through. And to our cost, unfortunately.
He's starting to become a bit of a villain, and he respawns every time against Saints, like the Terminator did.
Well, he's been sent off twice as well, so he hasn't had it all his own way, but he is annoying.
I guess if we look at elsewhere, I mean, obviously Elyounoussi did start, but for me, he didn't really, do himself any favours, nor did he do anything of note, but nothing did he...
He did one little flick over the top, but then he volleyed wide. It was one of those ones like Matty used to do, but he put it in the net and Elyounoussi put it wide. But I'm not going to hang him out to dry for that. But at least he had the ability to do that. And he does show some nice touches, but I just think physically he's not quite up to it. and that he'd be better off in a foreign league.
Yeah, and I've spoke to various different podcasts this week, in fact, asking about his future. I'm sure we will talk about it later on in a few weeks' time in our end of season reviews as well, so do look out for that one. And I suppose at half-time, actually, to tell you the truth, Clive, some of my friends and I were having a little bit of a sweepstake on the day, see when Elyounoussi was going to get hooked off.
Right, yeah.
Someone said 30 minutes. I said 45 because he's rarely finished beyond a half this season. Somebody says 60, 85.
Well,
but to all of us, nobody won because he finished all 90 minutes.
He finished all 90 minutes. Well, you know, you look back at Tadic and Lallana, they hardly ever finished 90 minutes. So these creative players seem to have a disease that they can't last 90 minutes. I don't know what it is, but physically just not quite there, lads. Is he really?
And I suppose if we look at the second half quickly, a small positive of note. I mean, Nathan Redmond, he's been that key figure this season, really sort of being the influence, the lead up to goals, being involved in so many goals, assists this season. And I suppose he was the only threat going forward. And speculative, it was the only shot on target that day.
He made a difference in 30 seconds, didn't he? But he unfortunately tried to turn onto his right foot, where if he turned onto his left, he might have been able to get a shot off straight away, straight at what's his name, the old Swansea lad,
Fabianski.
Fabianski. You know, if he just turned the other way to his left, that would have been a great little. And then look, after half time, we did have a right old go at West Ham, but it wasn't to be. The fans got excited for a bit, the Saints fans, and they gave them good support, and it just went against us with the second goal.
Yeah.
And then very quickly the third, and that was, you know, you thought the second was a game over anyway, to be honest.
And I suppose for the first 50 minutes of the second half, we had a good spell trying to grow into the game, but those two goals almost, you know, quickly killed the game off, and you know, once again it is Arnautovic that scores the second goal for him. But I suppose Forster was a little bit unlucky in that respect. Although he tries to parry it away, he punched it literally to the only position on the pitch where Arnautovic is stood. It bounces up, but the problem I have with that header is unchallenged.
He's unchallenged, but I don't know, Freddie, he should have probably punched it over the bar or, you know, away from goal. But then again, as I say, the West Ham player was pretty close when he put the cross in. So I didn't have much time to react, but it is disappointing, but it's not a car crash. You know, like some people were going off on the internet about, oh, this is dreadful, and Ralph's tried a few different things. It hasn't come off. He's learnt lessons, and we look forward to next season. We look forward to a decent transfer window, because above all, that's what we need. And you know, he's putting people in the shop window. Maybe he's thinking, I can keep this lad. He's decent. I'm gonna persevere.
Can we say anybody that was on the pitch on Saturday done himself any favours to add an extra zero to their value? I mean, Jack Stevens, you know, he seems to be the flavour of the month, the scapegoat at the moment. Yeah. And it could be said that he was at 6s and 7s, being twist-turner inside out for that third goal.
Well, he's struggled lately, hasn't he? And it's difficult to see a positive future for him at Southampton. But I'm convinced he could make a career in the Championship at the very least. You know, he could do a turn for maybe one of the promoted clubs. But I think as far as his future goes at Southampton, then you'd have to say it's sad, because we've developed him from a youth, and although Plymouth had him first, didn't they?
Right.
And then we took him over. So it's sad in a way, and the lad obviously has, you know, very strong feelings for Saints, but sometimes you just got to move on for your own good.
And I suppose that's obviously a key area that we will be looking at in the summer to invest into. And it's quite obvious that we are lacking a leader. We're so weak in that department, I would say. But I suppose if we look ahead to the final game of the season, Huddersfield, this is probably the best opportunity for 3 points.
Well, you like to think so, but you know, Huddersfield gave Man United a pretty decent game, and in recent weeks they've shown a lot of spirit. It often happens, doesn't it, when a team goes down, they play without any fear. But yes, we should have enough about us to have a decent ending to the season, and hopefully finish 15th. Is it?
We can go as high as 15th.
15th. Well, look, it don't sound that great, but if you told me that at Christmas, I'd be doing cartwheels.
Yeah, well, we can't finish any lower than where we are, but I suppose we're only
could
playing.
If Brighton win, but
yeah, but we got only a small sort of advance on the goal difference. Actually, in fact, on Brighton. But I suppose it's an extra £2 million to play for, and should Burnley lose, I think it's Arsenal. They've got
that'll buy some clackers, wouldn't it? I suppose. But seriously, it's important to finish positively. Give the fans. The fans have been fantastic in this second half of the season. They've really latched onto the enthusiasm that that Ralph's generated. They've seen players that they thought were rubbish suddenly performing like internationals, you know, and all of a sudden you want to go to the games. You're looking forward to the weekend. And I've got to be honest, there was a time this season when the only reason I was going down there was to go and have a drink with my mates, really, and the football was secondary. But now everybody's enthusiastic about it, and that says everything you need to know about Ralph.
He's done wonders, to say the least. You know, the job that he's done. I mean, started off with a free beer for everybody for the game against was it Arsenal? And from then everybody's sort of had a small love affair with him, and you know we're all confident that we will do well next season.
I think we've wanted someone to latch on to, a manager that you felt shows passion, shows enthusiasm, celebrates with the fans. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What's got to be this sudden, I'm all serious, I've got to go down the tunnel and do my team talk? No, go and it's a moment after a game like Arsenal and Tottenham. And let's be honest, before Christmas, would you have said we were going to beat Wolves, Everton and Leicester? Tottenham and Arsenal was very, very special occasions that will live in people's memories for years. But those other games, if we're thinking about moving into the middle part of the league next season, and let's hope and everyone's enthusiastic about that, those are the sort of games we're going to have to win on a regular basis.
Absolutely. And I suppose what we could see is a return to the strongest 11. What would you say would be the strongest team? Would you go back to the strongest side or keep the players in the shop window?
I personally, I would, because I think we desperately need to finish on a positive note going into the summer, looking forward to next season. It's been, you know, we went a whole half season winning one game.
Yeah.
And before that, it wasn't much better, was it? So things have turned round. It's a question, a little bit like, you know, when we went League One to the Premier. We've got a bit of momentum going now. Let's keep it going. Let's sign somebody, a couple of top players. I don't know who we're going to sign. I haven't got a clue. But I'd hope to think that Ralph Hasenhuttl and his team will have strong connections in Europe. Yeah. To get some really good players. I can think of guys in the Championship, guys on the fringes in the Premiership, but you know, it's entirely up to the boss.
And I suppose hopefully it will be a feel-good factor. It'd be good to sign off with a win. Huddersfield have sent 2 blocks back, so hopefully the home support will take that. Although the prices for the ticket, I think the cheapest was £39 to see a relegated team.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh well, okay, that's a bit naughty. You know, for all the good things that have gone on. Like, you know, obviously it's not Saints, but holding the £30 cap at away games, and the season tickets going down, that's really good. Having an open session, training session, which again is a positive step by the club. Come on, guys, £39, really.
And that's for an adult, by the way. But I suppose hopefully we win on Saturday and we can come down here to the Five Rivers where they've got a live band on for a sort of a grand opening downstairs for the lounge, if you like. And just a small note, actually, in fact, our mate Francis Benali completed his Ironman challenge, 7 Ironmans in 7 days, a truly incredible challenge. As we speak, he's just shy of £1 million, but hopefully as the bucket collections come in and all the counts have been verified and all the votes have been counted, hopefully he will smash that 1 million target.
Yeah, again, it's an incredible achievement, and I don't know what he's going to do next, fly to the moon or something like that, but seriously, Franny, don't do yourself any mischief, mate, because these things are damaging. But it is a fantastic cause that you've done, and you're a credit to this city, and really, I hope there's some sort of honour for you, you know, in the new year, let's say.
Great stuff, Clive. We'll see you at the weekend.
Okay, all the best, Freddie. Cheers.
Thanks again to Clive and the Five Rivers once again for hosting us. And as mentioned, do get yourself down to the Five Rivers this Sunday evening after the game for some live music to send the season off in some style and for the grand opening of the downstairs bar. Head to the Five Rivers Pub Facebook page to find out more, or you can click on the link below if you're watching on YouTube. But for now, a few other things to tell you about. And as mentioned earlier on then, as we recorded earlier this week, we said that Franny was just shy of that £1 million target. But now as I record later on this week, I'm delighted to announce that Franny has absolutely smashed that £1 million target. An absolutely incredible effort all round by Franny. And of course, the Iron Fran support team has been there every single second along the way. And a wonderful welcome it was at the Southampton Guildhall last Sunday to really welcome him home after this truly epic challenge. Franny, if you're watching or listening along now, I think it's about time you put your feet up and hopefully no more challenge. You deserve a rest, mate. But congratulations, a wonderful effort all round. Elsewhere, though, I want to say a big shout out to all of the Saints Foundation Big Bike Challenge riders cycling from Huddersfield Town, the John Smith Stadium to St Mary's Stadium this weekend. Well over 250 miles for the Saints Foundation cause. If you want to donate or find out more, head over to the Saints Foundation website. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can click on the Just Giving link just above my head. So that'd be a wonderful effort. If you can add to that cause for everybody involved. A good cause, no less. And of course, a match build-up show this season would not be complete without your travel advice. For the final time this season, and it is by no surprise, and there's no rest for South Western Railway once again this weekend. There are bus replacements, this time from Basingstoke onto Southampton Central this weekend. So anybody travelling from the north, good luck getting to and from the ground this weekend. And another little piece of news to tell you about, we will be recording our end of season reviews next week. So if you do want to get involved, you can record yourself. Make sure you do it landscape, and you can send over your clips to theuglyInside@gmail.com, or you can get in touch with us with a comment on the usual social pages. Leave it down below in the YouTube video, or send us a note. And maybe your favourite moment of the season. Who surprised you the most? Who was your player of the season? And maybe your goal of the season. Do you break the trends of the official votes that were announced earlier this week? But for now, though, all of that out the way, for the final time this season, let's speak to our opposition in the second half. So then, welcome along to our final second half of this match build-up show. Joining us on the line, who better to ask than a chair of the Huddersfield Town Supporters Association, actually in cohesion with the FSF too, doing a lot of good work there. Good to speak to you again, Jim Chisem. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Just been relegated for a while now, though, so but otherwise I'm fine.
Well, I suppose let's start with some positive news, I suppose. Slightly out of character, in fact, last weekend, a draw against Manchester United, who seemed like actually you took a bit of advantage over them. They're free-falling at the moment, and a bit about out of character for the Terriers last week.
Yeah, I think one of the most average sides I've seen come to the John Smith Stadiums in a long time. Actually, 2 seasons in the Premier League, we beat them in the first season and drew with them in the second season. So I think we're unbeaten at home by Man United in about 17,000 days, as it works out. But it was a good battling performance. As poor as Man United were, we've seemed to have settled on this midfield trio of Bakuna, Hogg and Moy. We pressed really high. We knew they were going to play a high line, so we kept hitting a lot of long balls, and we had a lot of pace with the likes of Mbenza and Grant, and it worked. And even though it was a draw, it felt like a win.
And I suppose it was a natural progression, and if you like, Jan Siebert sort of to succeed, David Wagner. But he done an incredible job last season just to keep you up. I mean, finishing on 37 points has not been. It's been quite unlucky this time around under Jan Siebert. I mean, what is his approach? Mainly, what have you taken from his tactics?
I think in a way he's in the Wagner mould, and in many ways in the Hasenhüttl mould, in the Klopp mould. He came from Dortmund too, so high pressing, very aggressive football, trying to win the ball back, quick transitions. I think Wagner in the second season realised that you can't give top quality sides space in the Premier League, so he settled on a back three and a back five at times, with a very much process possession focused. I think in terms of Sievert's approach, it's slightly different. It's a 4-3-3, and it's very much a case of pressing high and getting the ball forward as quickly as possible, which means we take more risks. And in this league, unfortunately, that means that more of those risks are punished.
It almost seems like you've been quite exposed, and the frailties have really sort of, been highlighted this season, in fact. But I suppose, the addition of, was it Carlon Grant from Charlton? Was it Charlton in the January window?
Yeah, that was it. I believe about 2.5 million. He is now our top scorer with, I believe, 4 goals, which tells you all you need to know about our season. But he just added something a bit different. He's kind of an all-round modern centre forward. He's got pace. He's relatively good in the air. He can play off the shoulder of the defenders, and he's happy to shoot from wherever. So he's just added something a bit different, something that we were lacking, really.
I suppose there's been a bit of some of the characters in the team have been a bit of a enigma, I suppose. Actually sort of taking the headlines last season with early wins, at the start of the season. I think you were top for the first three weeks, unbelievably. But I suppose Grant has been the real standout figure recently, hasn't he? Do you think, obviously, I think he was brought in for the Championship, for the future. I mean, how many players are you going to struggle to hang on to next season?
I think we'll struggle to hang on to the likes of, Congolo definitely will be playing at a higher level in the Championship and deserves to. The same with Moy. Probably Eric Durham, one of the right backs, can play left back as well. Probably like Stephen Mounier, Laurent Depoitre up front. We'll probably build a team around Schindler, who I think will stay. Jonathan Hoggan and Juninho Bacuna, who's kind of gone under the radar a bit, but he's one of that 21-year-old midfielder who's absolutely fantastic. Epitomises, I think, everything about that, so-called terrier identity, aggressive, in your face, and then Grant. So it's a question of building it around those. There's some players who, I think, to be fair, even our now former chairman said it yesterday, that some of the players have been a disgrace. They think they're better than they are, and, in his words, they down tools at Christmas. And again, in his words, he'll be absolutely happy to see the back of some of them. I think the fans have stuck behind the team, but we're all aware of some players who have just not given back what I believe we've given them in the Premier League. Because, it was rocking at Man United yesterday, and it's been rocking every single game, whether home or away. And you can't say that of many teams in the Premier League or anywhere else. We've only got 15 points. Since we played you, we've only got 5 points on the board. So I think we've been very good in that respect.
I guess you said something there, in fact, about the changes that are about to happen behind the scenes as well. The current chairman being through, obviously from the doldrums, or I suppose League One on to Championship. But he's stepping away now, and there's a new chairman coming in. I suppose, what can you tell us about him? Is there going to be much investment? Are you looking forward to, or looking to bounce straight back? But it's never a given to bounce back, is it?
No, I think people were a bit surprised. The Dean Hoyle's tenure has been amazing, like unparalleled success, getting into the Championship, then getting to the Premier League, staying in the Premier League for a season. He is a lifelong fan, from the terrace to the boardroom. And he really is, one of us, and I think we've all felt that. And he's bankrolled the club out of his own pocket. Phil Hodgkinson, from what we know, publicly available information, isn't a very rich man, and we're wondering how the deal is structured, because he doesn't appear to have a great deal of personal wealth. So what the message coming out of the club is that the next year we won't blow our brains out with spending lots of money. It'll be one in, one out. And it certainly won't be parity. If we get, 15 million from Moy, we won't spend 15 million on. It's very much a case of balancing the books and being sensible. So I think that is the sensible approach. The Championship's a very competitive league, and I think we will struggle to bounce straight back.
And I suppose the season that you did come up, you had one of the lowest budgets, in fact, coming up from the Championship, if not the lowest as well. But I suppose if we keep the topic back on the pitch, though, as you said, 15 points this season. It's only marginally better than the record low of Derby County in 07-08, and Aston Villa of a 17 points recorded only a few seasons ago. But I suppose last season you had a bit of a fear factor, taking a few big scalps at home. And I suppose, how can you summarise it in a nutshell?
This season, it is what it is. I mean, what I think one thing to point out is that under Wagner and that kind of period where Wagner decided to walk because he felt as if he couldn't turn things around, there was this 10-game period where we lost every game by, essentially by one goal. And we really were competitive in those games. We were defensively solid. We weren't conceding a lot. And, we had a penalty overruled by a linesman that was given at Cardiff. We hit the post against Liverpool, had a goal disallowed. I felt as if we were well organised and we were just unlucky. Under Seaver, I think initially it was hard to see what he was trying to do, but now I think he's struck upon a formula. But I think, in a way it's to be expected, and we just haven't had the rub of the green at all.
And I suppose it's been difficult for the fans, hasn't it? Going up and down the country. Obviously, you're one of the most northern sort of teams in the entire league. I hear that Town have sent back 2 blocks this weekend down to St Mary's. Do you think the fan base have been this often? I mean, I suppose it's right at the very end of a exhausting season, to say the least, for Huddersfield.
I think in many ways people felt as if the season ended on Sunday. It was the send-off for the chairman. It was all that kind of stuff. But I think still be a decent number of people going down there. Obviously it's £20 tickets, which is a great initiative. Really good club, fun day out on the seaside if the weather improves slightly. But yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's I think it's been a very, very difficult season.
And obviously I do wish a bit of luck as well to come back up, and it's quite admirable, the sort of promotion that you had a couple of seasons ago on the smallest shoestring of budgets as well. But you mentioned that Seaver and I suppose Hasenhüttl are in the same sort of mould. What have you made of Saints sort of briefly under Ralph Hasenhüttl? They've come sort of from the same school of German football, haven't they?
Yeah, I think you are playing pretty good football. You 38 points out, you're sort of safe, with 7 points. I mean, from what I've seen, it seems exciting, but the results have been a bit patchy. I don't know what you think. I don't know whether you felt as if you enjoy the football more or...
We're certainly an improvement than Mark Hughes. We're progressive. We're like you're saying, we're pushing high up the pitch. We're forcing mistakes into our opposition, and actually we're starting to enjoy the football once again. There was a point earlier on this season, right, sort of a week or two before Mark Hughes eventually got the sack. We were thinking, how much longer can we take of this? But Ralph has lifted the team from top to bottom.
Yeah, and for me, Mark Hughes was not a Southampton manager. When I think of Southampton, I think of quite attractive, attacking, technical football. And Hasenhüttl seems to have fit that mould perfectly. And he probably just needs a proper summer transfer window to bring in players that can play his style.
All right, so all that being said then, Jim, final game of the season, final away game for you in the Premier League, at least for this season. What do you think your approach is going to be? What's your, your prediction?
I think we'll just set up to attack. It's the last game of the season. It doesn't matter. I think we'll just go hell for leather. I think we'll put some youth players on, and I think we'll probably lose 3-2. I think there'll be goals in it. I think you'll set out to attack as well, and I think it'll be a really good, kind of Germanic gegenpressing game.
A fun afternoon for all, I suppose.
Yeah, hopefully.
Good to speak to you. And I suppose if anybody wants to catch up with your writings, and I suppose anything else that wants to follow you elsewhere for all of the things that you are doing off the pitch too, how can we find you?
Yeah, so on Twitter, it's at Jim_Chisem. And if you're interested in my musings about football and anything else, it's jamesachismwriting.com.
Great stuff. Good to speak to you. All the best, I suppose, next season. And hopefully we do speak again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. See you later.
Cheers, mate. Thanks again then to Jim for joining us after what must be an exhausting season for Huddersfield fans. And if you do want to see what he's up to, head over to his Twitter page or head over to his website so you can read all of his latest articles. But there you have it then. Thank you so much for sticking with us by this week, by listening and watching along on YouTube. And in fact, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for watching this season. We do appreciate your support. And some of you may have noticed that we did change our format slightly this season. I did try a few things differently, tried to break the mould, you know. But let us know how you think we got on and what things we can improve on into next season. I do appreciate your feedback. But we will be back later on this weekend for the fan reactions. And I'll be back in about a week or so for our end of season reviews. And if you want to get involved, do make sure you send us your clips to theuglyInside@gmail.com or get in touch with us by commenting or on the usual social pages. But for now, though, thank you for sticking with us this season for the final time. Come on, you Saints.